older in their age, and one of them he was out driving on the interstate the other day, when his wife called frantically and said, Herman, I just saw on the news that somebody's going the wrong way down the interstate. And Herman responded to her saying, one person, it's about 100 people. Wait for everybody to get that one. You know, today's Super Bowl Sunday, and so you knew that I had to have a football joke. And so I think, though, you know, those of you that don't like the football jokes and football references, but you know, I think you should try a little bit harder sometimes. Well, now wait a second. It's just, I'm just going to give you an example. Another friend of mine that's a little bit younger finally took his girlfriend, because he loves football just like me, and he finally took his girlfriend to a football game. And she was there, and after the game, he said, well, what did you think of the game? And he said, or she said, I liked it, but I couldn't understand why they were trying to kill each other for 25 cents. And he said, well, what do you mean by that? Well, everyone kept yelling, get the quarterback. I think some effort could have been put forward on her part. Let's say our statements of truth together, please. I am a child of God. I am deserving of good in my life. I am expecting my good now. You know, a couple of weeks ago, hey, Teresa, could you turn on the fan? Turn off the heat and turn on the fan. Try to go to your head. Sorry. I was going to do that in my record and I forgot. A couple of weeks ago, we celebrated Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s life with celebrations and national holidays. We took a moment out of our busy schedule to reflect back on the way things were and the way things have evolved into the way they are today. And it's always good for us to take time to stop and smell the roses of the seeds that we have planted in our life. Yet sometimes the human condition gets stuck in the way things are, or the way things were, and becomes susceptible to the idea that the way to change things is to struggle with the way things are so others will change. Oh, you've heard that, or you've seen that before. But when we come from this perspective, though, we all know that this is when we are coming from our personality, our ego self, and not recognizing the truth of who we are, and not recognizing the truth of who and what other people are also. We get our ego involved in the way others should be, instead of looking for the answer where the answer always lies. And the answer to any question in life is always with what the firmament of life is, Spirit. The fertile ground in which all divine ideas grow is the Christ. The answer to life's questions lies where it always has, within you. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. had a dream that he shared with us from the steps of the Washington Mall. His dream was a vision of children with different colored skin joining together in the joy of life. Each of them enjoying the content of each other's character, knowing that each of us is created from the same God and grown in the same firmament. You see, God created man and God created woman. God gave each of us strengths that are needed in the world that we live in. These strengths do not depend on the color of our skin or the shape of our body. They depend on our awareness of these strengths, which is our awareness of the Christ within. When we live from an awareness of the Christ within, we are living from the true content of our character, which is what Reverend King was referring to. The vision that Reverend Dr. King had is a dream that many of us have. But just as Reverend King knew, the dreams that you and I have are not stagnant. They are not something that stays the same and never changes. The dreams that Reverend King had, and you and I have, are dynamic dreams. They are dreams that evolve as our consciousness evolves. We have to be pure of heart and mind to be able to manifest the divine ideas that come to us as dreams and visions. We have to recognize that the power of the entire world is a spiritual power. And that power lies within each one of us. We have to realize that we are using that power every day, whether we are aware of it or not. When we think about other people, when we are driving down the road, when we are contemplating our future, we are using the power that we have within us. How are you using your power? There's a story in the Bible from the Gospel of Mark, chapter 7, that not only demonstrates this, but also allows us to see how there is no such thing as a devil or demons that can take hold of our power. And I really want to stress this story because I've met a lot of people since we've been here, not necessarily anybody in this room, but you may still have this too, I don't know, that believe in a devil. But listen to what Jesus taught himself. Now, this story is about Jesus was being followed by the Pharisees. He's already well into his ministry. And they want to catch him in breaking the law that they have put forward, so they can sentence him to death, which they eventually do. One day, Jesus and the disciples, at the end of the day, had been working very hard, both in ministry and fishing and all sorts of things, and they were tired and hungry. They gathered together to eat their food, and they ate their food that was prepared. The Pharisees were shocked, and they were happy too, because they had finally caught Jesus and the disciples both, all of them, breaking the law. The law was to wash your hands before eating, and each dish that was going to be used in the meal had to be washed separately, prayed over, and then you can prepare the food. Jesus and the disciples had only blessed the meal before eating, without doing all the separate washing. The Pharisees immediately pointed this out to Jesus, that he and the disciples had defiled the food with unclean hands, and therefore had defiled their bodies. Upon which Jesus, the Christ within him, responded, Moses taught, honor your father and mother, and whosoever curseth their father or mother shall die. But you say, as long as a person honor the Korban, which is what the rules that they had put together, Jewish elite had put together, then they shall be set free from honoring their father and mother, making the Word of God work for your tradition instead of for God. This happens in many, many churches. Probably some unity ministers even use it, or have done it. But this is what he says after this. Listen to me, everyone who can hear. There is nothing from without a person which entereth into him can defile him. But the things which come out of him, those are they that defile him. So what he's saying here is that we can see many things in our life, in this physical part of life especially, that may not fit into our dream. Yet we get to choose what it is that we give our power to. Your mother and father may have been poor parents. They may have done a lousy job raising you. And so we're going to talk about the literal part of this first. They may have done a lousy job raising you. Or they may have been the best parents in the world. Either way, you are here because they opened themselves up to something inside of them that allowed more life to be born into this world. That was something special. That was something spiritual. You were born of original blessing. You indeed are a miracle child. Do you ever think about that? Do you ever realize that you were born in original blessing? I know it's taught a lot about original sin, and we're hitting both of them hard today, boy. I tell you what, if you weren't uncomfortable coming in here, you probably will be when you leave. But you know what? It's good. It's a good thing. You have 4 or 5 hours before the Super Bowl. Calm down. And even if you don't, you can calm down during that. But this is one of life's great lessons that sometimes, like Teresa said earlier, Sometimes we have to unlearn things that we have learned that aren't true. And that's why we have such a good time actually at the Metaphysical Bible on Wednesday night. We talk about all this stuff. But we all have a choice of how to honor our parents as they live the rest of their physical life. If you give your thought power to there being such a thing as a devil or demons, then you will be susceptible to seeing such things in your life. Yet the manifestation of such things is only from you. You have the power. If there's a devil in your life, you created it. Hate to tell you that, if there's one in your life, but you created it. But the good news is, even if you have, you can dissolve it immediately. There is no power within the manifestation of things other than divine ideas, because they have no power on their own. This is how we may see evil acts that take place in our society and understand that the act itself has no power. The person behind the act has the power and has misguided his or her power into manifesting the evil action. Did everybody follow me there? I read earlier this week that Atlanta, they come up with this top 10 of everything anymore, but this top 10 was the top 10 cities for crime, and Atlanta ranked number 9. Of course, I was disappointed. I wasn't even looking for Atlanta on it. I just was looking for the top 10. And I was disappointed because, you always like to think the place you live, the city that you live in, you call your home, that it's safe and better than other cities. That violent crime happens in Atlanta to 1.379% of our fellow Atlantans. Even though that percentage may sound low, and it is low, it's too high for us to tolerate. For the most part, you and I both know that the people of Atlanta and around, including us in Conyers, are good, upbeat, and optimistic people. I mean, that is something that you all should be proud of. We all should be proud of. Because that is true. I think that the people here in this area are more optimistic than the place I came from. At least they voice it and they show it. And we want to demonstrate that by teaching those who are not directing their power in a positive, productive way to do so. We do this by living a life that shows the benefits of living from the Christ nature. And that means we have to stand up and be counted when something that is not demonstrating the truth is being exhibited. Just like Jesus did with the Pharisees. The other day on television, I don't know if you saw this, and I think it was here, but I'm not sure, because I think it was a local channel. I saw a man, a homeless man, who had just had a heart attack and collapsed. And he collapsed at the entry of this convenience store, where they have, the double doors you can open. And he collapsed right in between the doors. So when he was laying there, one of the doors was open, of course, because he was leaning on it. 2 or 3 people entered. Of course, they have store surveillance. 2 or 3 people entered into the store and left after paying for their goods by just walking over the man. Each of us can become so laser focused on what we are doing in the present moment that we don't see what is going on all around us. If we get so laser focused on the things of the material, then we are blocking things of the spiritual by not being aware of them. Living a spiritual life does not prevent us from enjoying the physical part of life. In fact, it's just the opposite. It enhances all parts of life. In contrast to the evil being powered by us, a divine idea has power on its own and will manifest at some point or another by way of entering into the awareness of multiple individuals. There are many divine ideas that you have access to right now. They are everywhere present, and all we have to do is be spiritually in tune to accept one and bring it into manifestation. That is how we can enjoy all areas of life. The divine idea you have received permeates the ethers because it is time for it to be manifested. Many divine ideas have been around for centuries and have yet to be demonstrated fully. Reverend King's dream of children of different origins playing together has manifested partly and much better than when he was walking the streets. Yet it has not fully manifested today. Each of us have to come to a point where we literally don't see the color of one's skin to be any different than the color of our own. We have to honor our fellow humans in his or her life. What is your dream? Do you have a dream that can only manifest if you do specific things that someone else has put forth for you? Or is your dream coming more and more alive because you are open to the limitless possibilities of dynamic nature of divine ideas? And are you using your power to be part of the glory of God? And you have to ask yourself sometimes when we get into this, how much of your dream in the present situation you're at right now can you handle in your life? All of your dream in its entirety is waiting for you to claim. So what's stopping you? Is it time? Is it money? When we live our life in the Christ within, all these things will come to us. Just like the building. No, we're not deterred by being declined in the way that loan was put forth. In fact, we should be energized by knowing what we've learned from that process and how we can do it better the next time. It does not mean to achieve our dreams and to live them fully. It does not mean that we have to change jobs or change where we live or even change anything of the way we live our life on the outer. Because that is not where our dream lies. Our dream is from the inner Christ that is in communion with God. Our dream does not depend on where we are socially in life. Our dream does not depend on where we are financially in life. Our dream does not depend on what address ours is. Our dream depends on the thoughts we think and how we act upon them. The dreams we have become a reality if we use our spiritual powers to manifest them. Let's each of us join together with God to accept the good that is readily available to us. God needs you. God needs you to realize your dreams. God needs you to use the power that you have to manifest good here on earth by bringing into fruition the divine ideas that you receive in prayer and meditation. The dream that you have in your mind is but a small token of what God has in store for you. Are you ready to live the dream? Because once you live the dream, you are fulfilling God's dream of you. Know that God is blessing you now.
Thank you, Reverend Warren.